Hello again. We're going to now make a short video so that you can begin to learn about the different classes and races and how to create a character. When you first log into EverQuest 2 or EverQuest 1 or most games, you will be taken to what's known as a landing screen. This is the landing screen. As you can see, this looks like the initial screen in all the other videos I've done so far. This is a good opportunity to create a new character because it appears that my main server, Halls of Fate, is down right now. So let's see if we can create a character on another server. Okay. Now, these are all new changes, so I'm learning as we are. There are several kinds of servers. The traditional servers is the one that existed when the game launched. Has all of the content of the game accessible. Progression servers are servers that are mostly for us old folks, where we want to engage in a little bit of nostalgia. These games have had many expansions. I think EverQuest 2 has had something like 15. And the progression server is basically the new expansion content unlocks over time. It's often triggered by how many players have hit a particular level or completed a particular zone. But they're very nice for nostalgia. I don't recommend them necessarily for a new player. This new class here, and that is truly new even for me, it appears that there is PvP on that. Now, I'm not a PvPer. I PvP in Game of Thrones Conquest, and that was totally by accident. That's not my personal wheelhouse, but if it's yours, then certainly you can play there. And then we have a free trade server down there. What that means is that most items in the game that are available in the traditional and progression PvP, you can actually trade. Many items, as you get higher and higher in the game, are what are called no trade or no drop, which means that they are rare and they are valuable. And so to keep the in-game economy balanced and prevent bots from coming in and camping particular items and then selling them and nobody else can get them, the item when you pick it up becomes locked to your character. And there's some real advantages to that for everybody that is not playing this game 24/7 or, as I said, are not in here to try to make a living. So let's just start with the traditional one. Create character. You will see that there are several things you need to think about. We're on a traditional server. There are archetypes, and that's the four main types of character. There are the fighters. These are the people who, what we used to call, generally focus on damage. Some of them are what we call tank and spank, which means that basically all they do is swing whatever or kick whatever or stab whatever, and that's how they do damage. There, within the fighter archetype, there are a number of classes. There is the Guardian, which, if you look over here, it says that the description is really nice. It says, I am a wall of steel. No harm shall come to those who I defend. It's basically a main tank. When you're fighting with your army, this is the big meat shield that you put out in front. They take a lot of damage, and they dish out a lot of damage. Berserkers are another type of damage dealer, but because they are berserk, they have slightly less defensives, but they also, like Guardians, are the people you put in front. Monks are wonderful in the sense that monks don't usually use a lot of weapons. They have a lot of special, like, kung fu moves, and they can sneak around. Monks are extremely useful on raids because they're usually used to be sent out as frontmen to kind of split up groups of NPCs, or mobs as we call them, that would otherwise all come to you at once. They have a particular skill, as some other classes have, too, but monks primarily, called feigned death, which means that they can split these NPCs up. Bruisers are another kind of just hit them and squishable. They do have some limitations. Their primary asset, though, is that they too are out there to take damage. Paladin and Shadow Knight are the good and evil sides of a single type of class. They're what's known as the hybrids, in the sense that they are both fighters and have another archetype's qualities as well, although not as strong as somebody who has that as a primary archetype. So the Paladin, which might feel like husband, who I met in the game twice, is a combination of a warrior, a tank, like a guardian, but also a cleric. That class has certain healing attributes, and they can bring you back to life when you die, although not as well as clerics, which is good because that's what I am. Shadow Knights are the dark side of that. Shadow Knights can also do those same things. They're fighters, but they also can bring people to life, but they do it by basically sucking the life out of other things and converting and playing with dead things, which is kind of yucky, but there are a lot of great quests for Shadow Knights. So that's the fighter archetype. The second primary archetype is priests. This is the group of people whose primary mission in one way or another is to use earth magic and spiritual magic to do damage, but more also to keep groups and people alive in battle. The first type is a Templar. Normally in EQ1 I do play a cleric. I have a Templar, Dea, which I showed you in the video briefly, and she's a pure healer. I happen to like being what we would call a battle cleric, so I actually have some strength stats on her that you probably shouldn't have if you're a purist, because I too like to tank and spank a little bit, even though everybody gets mad at me. But these are the good healers. They're on the good side. If they were in Star Wars, they would be part of the Jedi. Inquisitors are also a healing class, but they have different kinds of magic, and they actually have more ability to do damage than clerics. Like if Templars probably deal out the least damage, Inquisitors are one step up. They're also associated with certain zones in the game. You normally cannot create a Templar and a cleric and an Inquisitor in the same place. The Wardens are the Druids from EQ1. They deal with the magic of the earth, growth, life. So the types of spells that they cast, again, focusing on healing, they also have the ability to command the forces of nature. And many of their spells are nature-based, fire, earthquakes, things like that, or the Wardens. The Channelers, I actually don't know as much about that class, because I have actually never known anybody who played it, but my understanding is that it is basically the Warden, with the exception that they are more damage dealing on the darker side. Furies are definitely a balanced class in the priest archetype. They can do about equal damage and equal defense. Everything in these games is a choice. So the more that you have different kinds of skills in a single type of class, you're never going to excel at them to the same degree. So for example, Wardens can heal, Furies can heal, Inquisitors can heal, Channelers can heal, but none of them heal as good as the Templar. So the Furies are the balance. Mystics are the Shaman. They also have lots of spiritual magic, but it's focused on animal powers. They usually have pets, that look like NPCs in the game. Sometimes they can charm other animals to make them work together. Defilers are the dark side of mystics. They can command the dead. So that's that in the priests. The mage are the pure magic casters. We are squishy, but that means that we cannot take much damage, but if you get one of us, we can finish any battle. Huge numbers of magic spells. The wizards are pure magic, pure destruction on the good side, warlock on the bad. Illusionist, Deandra, character that was in my other videos. My main is an illusionist. That's an enchanter. We are what's known as a crowd controller. The spells that we have not only do damage, but they have the ability to split groups of NPCs up, to slow them down, to confuse them, and we have buffs that trick them. So, for example, Cynthia is an illusion, but she is basically as if I had two of me. There are other spells that I have as an illusionist where I can send out 6 embodiments of myself at a time. They don't last long, but they really do some damage. Coercer, the darker side of the illusionist. Again, there's always going to be choices depending on what kind of your personality is or how you like to play. The conjurers are the pure mages. My main character on this account is a conjurer. We summon from the elements. We summon pets that are from earth, fire, wind, and air. So, and those are a large part of our damage. We also have some spells like illusionists and wizards, but they're not as strong. And then necromancers, of course, are the conjurers of the dead. The scouts are those classes that have skills that make them great at stealth. They are wonderful. Most scouts are great at scouting things out, figuring out what's going on, and when we're talking about the rangers, can do incredible damage through their weaponry at the same time. Some of these classes I have never played, so I apologize. The swashbuckler is a rogue. Rogues generally, like the name suggests, are sneaky. They do stuff from behind. Rogues, first thing that a rogue player or swashbuckler will do is get behind whatever it is you're trying to kill, because they do incredibly much more damage from anything other than direct flight. Very sneaky. My understanding that brigands are the same way, they're just on the dark side. The troubadours are the bards. They sing songs, but their songs are infused with magic. Kind of like illusionists, they are crowd controllers. They have songs that can do everything from make you run fast to confuse your enemy. In EQ1, the bard, it may well be, other than the paladin, the most powerful class to play if you're going to play all by yourself. The beast lords, similar to the animal class, the animals classes like shaman, but they have much more power over actual animals themselves, and they use martial arts quite a bit. The dirge is the dark side of the troubadour. The rangers are the folks that stand all the way in the back and just shoot flaming arrows. Think the Katniss Everdeen's in EQ2. They're badass. A good ranger. On the other hand, rangers are also very, very squishy. They die a lot if you don't protect them. And then the assassins are the equivalent of rogue. They're another roguish ranger type class. They can fight from a distance, but their emphasis is sneaky. So those are the basics of selecting a class. Let's now talk about, let's pick one. Let's see, just to show you, I want to pick a class I know how to play so that I can go in and kind of show you. Let's pick a, hold on a stick, I want to be shouting that, and alright, I think we're going to play. I know I'm taking up way too much time. I apologize. It's always a tough one. Let's play Paladin. So then I pick the Paladin, and then if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see there's a next button. And when you click that, this is where you pick what you look like. And I'm going to stop this video here because the picking what you look like is one of the most fun parts of the game.